It's Mike Titino with the Safety First Home Inspection Show.
So thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. Love being here. I love chopping it up with you.
Catherine, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I'm proud of you, man. Good for you. I like it.
This is the Safety First podcast show. Today's episode is by far going to be the most personal episode of mine. The whole theme of this episode is how powerful the mind is, no matter what your upbringing is, no matter what you've been through, no matter what challenges life has brought to you, that you're in full control of your effort to change your situation. And speaking of upbringings, there's no person that knows my own upbringing more than my own mother. So today, my mother's my guest. Thank you for coming on my show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm beyond proud of you, and I'm really excited to be here.
So let's start off with, give us a quick bio about yourself, about where you were raised and where you were born.
I was born at Metropolitan Hospital, as you were. I was raised on 92nd and 1st. I went to St. Catherine's of Siena on 61st, between 1st and York. I grew up, my aunt raised me because my mother was unable to, and my father was nowhere around. So I had a loving, very lucky to have a wonderful, loving, supportive family that took me in and did the best that they could.
Okay, so now we fast forward to 1988. You're 25 years old, and you're pregnant with me. Mm-hmm. My sister's born at the time, but she's not with you yet. Mm-hmm. We'll get into that later. And so you're a few weeks pregnant, and you had decided at one point that you were actually going to get an abortion.
I did.
So walk us through that day where you were actually walking to the clinic. You're pregnant with me, and
okay. So let's back up, because the whole story goes like this. In 2 seconds, I can say it.
Sure.
I had already given up custody of your daughter, of your sister, because I was unfit and I had a lot of issues with drugs. So I wasn't able to care for her. I allowed my mother to take care of her. And so when I found out that I was having another baby, I was just mortified because I didn't do the right thing in protecting myself not to become pregnant again. And there was no way I could have another child being unable to take care of one. I said, there's no way I can have another one. So I did go to the clinic because I was nauseous and I just wanted to know what was going on with me. And they told me I was pregnant. And then I said to her, well, I have to set up I can't have this baby. So she said, well, you're going to have to come next week and we'll have an abortion. So I wasn't thrilled about it. I was extremely sad because that's not what you want to do. But I also knew that there was no way I was able to take care of anybody else. I could barely take care of myself. Mm-hmm. So I was crossing the street, and I was 2 weeks pregnant. It wasn't like I had a big stomach, and it was obvious that I was pregnant. And the woman was crossing the opposite way. And as she was getting closer to me, she put her finger in my face and said, you're pregnant, and you're having a boy. And this boy is going to change your life. And it wasn't what she said that I remember. It was how I felt. Every hair on my body stood to attention like you would at a flag. And it was just something about the way she said it that I was convinced that I had to stop doing drugs, that I needed to get my life together, and that's what I chose to do that day. And it was the best decision I've ever made. One of the few best decisions I've ever made in my life was not to have an abortion.
So fast forward from that moment, obviously, a few months later, where are you staying at this point?
At this point, I was homeless because I was a drug addict, And I also had said to the doctor that I was, doing some light drugs because I wasn't planning on having you. Mm. So she had to tell social services when I went back for prenatal care. When I gave birth to you, all I did the whole 9 months was beg God to please give me a child because Sabrina was born clean. I never did anything with her, and I didn't want that for you. So I said, God, if you can give me a healthy baby, I promise you that I'll never do drugs again. And so I had you, and I'm laying in the bed, and a woman comes in from social services, and she's telling me that my baby was born with drugs in his blood, and blah, 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 blah. And I was hysterical crying. And after 45 minutes, she says, well, I have to take your son Kenneth from you. And I said, Kenneth? I said, no, my son is Michael. She said, I have the wrong case. Your son wasn't born. Your son was born healthy. The doctor came in and the doctor said, no, 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 her son was born healthy. So that's what I did. I kept my word. I didn't go back to heavy drugs.
Good.
Once I had you.
So
it was, it wasn't easy. It was,
yeah. No, of course. So,
but it was good. It was good that you were born great.
So once you gave birth, for those who don't know, my father was never in the picture, which we'll get into later. But then within the year of you giving birth, you met my brother's father.
Right.
And where did you guys meet?
We met at a rehab.
Okay. And
I was going to group because I was working on getting my daughter back. I went to court. Judge Judy said, you have to go to rehab, and the only way you're going to get your daughter back is to finish the program.
And at the time, what drugs were you using at the time?
It was crack.
Okay. And so you meet my brother's father, you get my sister back. So now you get married, and then you have my brother. And then I would say, so then we lived in East Rockaway. We had the dog and everything, had a nice house. Yeah. So now I'm about 9 or 10 years old. And the topic of my father comes up for the first time. I don't understand the whole biological thing.
But I do remember, because I always wanted to be honest with you, I do remember always telling you that Rocco wasn't your biological father, that you had a father.
Right.
Always, I wanted you to know that, because I wanted you one day to have to make your own choices.
Right. So I'm about 9 or 10 years old, and then the whole family court thing comes about, and my father, whose also name is Mike, by law, you have to show up to court. And that, I remember you asking me, do I want to meet him? So,
right, yeah.
So I agreed to go to family court with you. And the first time I'm meeting my father, it's literally doing the saliva cotton, the cotton swab test to do the paternity test. Apparently he wasn't paying child support, so that's what happens. And then...
well, at that time he wasn't. But do you remember that I managed to get all that back?
Yes.
Yes.
So
okay.
For you guys watching, the deadbeats out there, if you don't pay child support, it will come back to haunt you.
Yeah, especially if you're a homeowner and you're selling your house.
Yes.
I got the big chunk out of it first.
Yes. So then I'm about 9, 10 years old. I meet him in family court. Now, I don't speak to him since. Maybe 3, 4 years later, you and my brother's father, you guys get a divorce. So now I'm about 12, 13 years old. We won't get into details on divorce, obviously. So now you guys split, and then we go to Long Beach. Now, at this point, you have 3 kids.
Single.
3 different fathers. And you're working from sun up to sundown just to make ends meet. So what was your option at that point to keep a roof over our head?
Work. I was very lucky that there were people who were hiring in that community that kept me close to the house, because your sister would come by to see me when I was doing at the beauty shop. I was working there. You would stop for money. I would give you money to buy pizza or whatever it was. At least I knew that I was close by in case anything or anybody needed me.
And then at one point you had to actually go on the program, right? Voucher?
Somebody, I've always worked. But then somebody introduced me to what's called Section 8, and I didn't know anything about that. And the reason why they helped me was because I was working so many jobs, and they wanted to help me make life a little bit easier for myself. And so they sent me to a certain person, and I went to meet that person, and that's how I got started with that.
And I'm sure that obviously took a load off your shoulders once.
It was wonderful because it really did.
And you told me this story recently because I don't remember it, but you said at one point you were on the phone with one of your close friends and you were kind of going over, you don't know how you might be able to put food on the table at one point, and I guess I overheard it.
Right. Well, it was wintertime.
Wintertime, yeah.
And you had asked me to buy you a shovel because you always were motivated to make money. That's one thing that you
Yes.
you really were, Michael.
Yes.
And so But let's go back to Danny's. I bought you a bike one time, and this little coffee shop was like 3 miles.
Demi's.
Demi's.
It was Demi's. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, and you would get up every Saturday
remember, yeah.
at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I would, yeah.
I didn't have to wake you up. I was like so impressed.
I was 13.
Yeah, I know. So you went and you
Yeah.
worked there. But going back to that day, I was very upset because I had 3 kids and I didn't think I was going to make it to the end of the month with the food that I had. I was going through a rough time. It wasn't all the time that we had those moments because, I make do with what I had. But that particular time, I remember it. I was on the phone with my best friend and another girlfriend, just venting to them and, giving each other, encouraging each other. And while I was speaking with them, you were getting ready to go shovel. And you left, and then 4 hours later, you come back like with 8 bags in each hand, and you walk in through the door, and I'm looking at you, and I'm going, "What do you have there?" And you said, "Here, now we have food," and it just broke my heart because I'm thinking, "Oh my God, he really look at this kid, 13 years old, and he's already." So I said, "Michael, with the same love you walk through that door with those bags, we're going to use that same love and turn around and go back to the supermarket," because it was only a block away from our house. And we went back there, and you gave the receipt to the manager, and I explained to the manager why you're returning everything because they had a difficult policy with returns. And she just almost had tears in her eyes and said, "You're very lucky." And I said, "I know I am." But the funny thing was that you had bought popcorn, you bought cereal, you bought gum.
Which I don't have any of that stuff now, but I would
You bought
never.
string, you bought a lot of candy.
Never.
But it was, basically the intention. That was the story for that. And
Well, I would definitely say from when I was about 13, that's when my whole mind started, I guess, maturing at a very young age and very quickly because of the circumstances. And ever since then, even when I was working at the deli, waking up at 5 a.m., I was 13. I had to lie to them and tell them I was 14 because I don't think you could actually work at 13, which I don't recommend anyone lie to get a job or an opportunity. But at the time, I didn't know any better.
it wasn't going to hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And I had this tiny little like GT bike.
I remember.
Yeah,
'Cause
this little bike.
I
with
bought
the
it
pegs.
secondhand. Yep.
Yeah. So, and then every time it snowed, so now, like I'm 13, 14, and every time it snowed, I always viewed it as I get to
Opportunity.
shovel to make money.
You
yeah.
did, yeah.
And then I would even convince my friends because there were times I didn't have a bike, and I would convince my friends, like, let me get on the handlebars and let's ride into Atlantic Beach because for those who don't know, Atlantic Beach had bigger houses.
More expensive.
And we could
but
charge
that's where
more.
you went. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That's exactly where you went. And for 4 hours, you would come home with $500-600.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
And just even when I was knocking on the door, I mentally had a quota like, I'm not coming back home until I make X amount. I'll do whatever it takes. And that moment, till this day, sticks with me now. And there was even a point, I don't know if you remember this or not, but there was a point, there was no cable in the house. And we had the little 13-inch white TV with the VHS combo.
Right.
And we had like every Kung Fu bootleg movie out. So till this day, I know like 10 Jackie Chan movies that like the back of my hand because that's all we had. So so I'd say by 14, 15, that's where I feel like our dynamic started to shift a little bit. I guess because your absence started to increase where you would go out, you'd kind of be in and out of the house a little bit. I guess this is before you met your long-term boyfriend at the time. So by 14, 15, I started getting accustomed to like you being in and out. My older sister, she has a chemical imbalance and she's not mentally fit, and she was living at a group home. So now it's just me and my brother. But now at that point, he goes to move with his grandmother. Excuse me. So by 16, I would say you were basically out of the house, and maybe you came by once or twice a week to drop off groceries and do laundry, stuff like that. And I didn't mind that.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm not saying that what I did, looking back, if I can change a lot of things, believe you me, I would have. I would have. But I also think that I did it because I felt I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you what I was thinking at the time. You were so mature,
I had no
so
choice.
responsible that I felt comfortable leaving you, if that makes any sense. But
It does.
at the time, that's what I was thinking. But I mean, I know I would go and check up and do laundry there and clean and make sure that everything was, fine. But that that's why I think I did that.
And there was a point for me, another turning point. So the one turning point that I mentioned where when I was 13, where I had no money and I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And then again at 16, where one day I woke up and realized like I have my own, like I have the choice to even go to school right now. Like if I drop out, if I don't go, there's no one's going to hold me accountable. So that fear of like, okay, what if I fail? What if I flunk? What if I drop out? Like what other option do I have? Which I don't. And I never had the luxury to slack or have the parents to support and whether it's financially, whatever the case is. So I feel like those experiences, looking back now, were definitely the best thing that's ever happened to me because it's all about perspective. Someone else can go through the same motions and have a completely different path because their mind frame is not where they don't have a positive perspective from these maybe unfortunate situations that they just didn't have control over. But I feel like at 16, at that point, I started to realize I'm in control of the effort. I'm in control of the effort to change everything around me. And then ever since then, just even till this day, I mean, I've just been just a very hardworking person because of what if I'm a failure, and just the fear just keeps driving me.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with trying something and not the first time or even the second time, getting to that place because that's how you grow conviction. That's how you grow endurance. That's how you keep going because not every time you're gonna win or not every time you're gonna get, because the fact that you try, you're winning.
Yeah.
The day that you stop, that's it. It's over. But every day that you get up and you make a little effort, you're going to be fine. Rome was not built in one day. So, and you're going to have bad days. I don't care
of
who
course.
you are.
And I even, and I don't think people realize that at one point how bad it was. And there was one point, particularly through high school, where I remember if I wasn't at a friend's house around dinner time, I wasn't having dinner that night. I would either go home, either have a bowl of cereal, I'd either go to sleep on an empty stomach and have that same bowl of cereal the next morning for breakfast, or luckily I'd be at my friend's house and it would be around 5, 6 o'clock at night and they would.
Well, like I said before when I spoke with you, when you told me that, I was completely devastated because had I known that was going on. I mean, I don't know how that happened because I was going to the house leaving food. So I don't know, but if you would have called me and told me, that I would have always been there for you. I would have never let that happen to you. So that bothers me. That devastated me. I mean, I can't change what happened in the past. All I can do is tell you that I'm extremely sorry that it happened to you, that I was a part of that.
You're not a part of that.
I was a part of that because you didn't have food. But that happened. That's in the past.
Of course.
Look where you are now. But you are entitled, and you deserve an apology from me. And I just want to give it to you, just to give it to you. That's all. Because I love you, and I would never want anything you to feel hurt about the stupid things that I did in the past. Or we're past that. I know that.
So speaking of moving past that, so now fast forward. I'd say 5, 6 years later, I'm in the Carpenters Union now.
Right.
I'm working. I have a good job. I have everything going for me. And I'm about 23, 24. And I get a phone call from you that my brother's father had passed away due to he had overdosed because once you guys split, he kind of veered back into his old, the path of addiction and everything that comes with that, unfortunately. So, so then that happens. And then I would say within within a year or two, around that time, you and I went to New Jersey,
To
and
visit.
we were visiting family. Yeah,
No, we went. Yes, we went to my grandmother's house because we were going to do a big shopping. Remember, we went to the supermarket.
yes, yes.
Yes,
I remember. Yeah.
That's how we. That's what took us there.
So we went to New Jersey, and I didn't know this until I actually brought it up, but apparently my father was family friends with your aunt.
Yes.
Yeah.
She has a son with your father's best friend.
Yes. So I caught wind of that, and then she had mentioned that, oh, Mike lives probably 15 minutes
Right.
away from here. So then you didn't come with us, which
No.
I didn't expect you to,
Right.
but she knew where he lived. So we go there. He lived in a condo at the time by himself. So we go there. She knocks on the door, and she goes, Mike, there's someone here to see you. And I'm in the hallway, and he pops his head out, looks at me, and she's like, do you know who that is? He looks at me, and he goes, I have no idea. I tell him who I am. I'm with him for about 2 hours. I thank him for his absence, and because I'm not the kind of person that would blame someone else for anything else. I feel like everything happens for a reason, and I don't backtrack to try to like put things together. I'm always moving forward, but I thanked him for just not being there. That taught me to just figure it out on my own. No animosity, no hard feelings. He also had other children that had no idea that I even existed, which is another story. And I'd say about within a year after we met, or maybe 2 years after we met, the mother of his other children called me up and said he's not doing too well. You know, if you want to stop by to see him, now would probably be the time. And I declined. I said I don't really care. You know. And then, sure enough, 5-6 months later, he passed. I even got invites to go to the ceremony. Once again, I passed on it. So, and I just realized that you can't hold things against people, even if they weren't part of your life or never was. It's not healthy to hold things in, and just you kind of have to just let it go, I guess.
Right. But I also know from experience that that you have to do things for yourself. People who have done wrong to you, you can't get at this point in life, just do things for yourself. Forgive them for not knowing any better, and move forward, because you can't move forward if you're holding on to all that weight, And it's easier to let go and let things be than to have resentments or any of that negativity, because that's not going to do you any good. And it's so freeing and so liberating to be in your truth, to be honest, to say, listen, you know what? I made a mistake, and own up to that mistake, and just be completely responsible for everything that you say and do, because we're all humans, and most people understand, They'll say, oh, that's okay. They're very understanding. That's what helps me become more aggressive and assertive in life, because I had a lot of people who were good to me, and I never felt judged. And also, I'm older now, so I really don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm 58 years old, and if you like me, you like me, and if you don't, that's okay too, because my bills keep coming in. I'm still breathing. Whether you love me or you hate me, it doesn't make a difference. I would rather that you love me. But if you don't, that's okay too. I wish you nothing but the very best.
Of course.
And you have to, I think if you stay focused with your life and what you got to do what you have to do for yourself, everything else around you is really irrelevant, because it has nothing to do with you.
So there's a very good chance people that are going to be watching this or listening to this, they're either parents of children who are grown up or toddlers, and everything in between. What have you learned as a parent that you may give advice to maybe new parents or anything to?
Well, I've learned two things. One do and one don't. Don't ever talk bad about that child's parent.
Meaning if you guys are split and...
Meaning anything. They tend to take it personal. They tend to think that they're part of that's who they are too. Never do that, because eventually if that person is rotten, that mother or father, that child will see it for themselves. And the do is what I do with you and your brother and your sister. Always harass them with phone calls and messages saying that you love them. Always tell your children that you love them, because I never had my parents tell me they loved me, so I don't know what that's like. That's why I make sure that I tell you and your siblings as many times as I can, because I think it's part of a validation of knowing that there's nobody else that's ever going to love you as much as that one person. And I think it's nice to hear it from your parent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Parent, in my case.
Parent, yeah.
Parent.
Right. So that's why I always harass you with your, the messages and the texts, because I do love you, and I love your brother, and I love your sister. I mean, you're the only 3 people on this earth that I'll go to jail for, because everybody else I can't. It's not worth my time.
Which I wouldn't put you in a position.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying,
jail.
you know what I mean? But that's what I would do. No matter how old they are, always tell them that you love them, because it's important that people tell you that they love you.
Now, aside from that, every parent has their own way to reprimand their children and discipline them. You know, when they get out of line when they're kids, and I will say on record, so because CPS will not come knocking at your door. But what worked when I got out of line, I got a good old-fashioned ass whooping when I was a kid. Do you remember?
Well, I do, because it wasn't that often. You weren't that child, Michael.
No, but there was one. Let's not get in.
Yeah, I remember.
The belt.
Yeah, I remember. But like I said, you weren't that child. You never, even when you were in my stomach, you were so laid back. Your brother was all over the place. Your sister too. And here I have this child that once every 2 months will stretch his arm out, and I'm saying, "Oh, there you are." Or I would say, "Hey, buddy, what's going on? I don't hear from you." But so no, I do remember one thing about you is that love that you had with the dog.
Yeah.
And remember
I still
the last
love
day?
dogs.
Remember that last day with Spike? We went to take him.
No, of course, yeah. That's yeah.
He was the most wonderful dog.
That was my dog, yeah.
He was your dog, yes, because
Definitely.
he always geared to you out of the three of you. But
So-
yeah, I love dogs too.
So with that being said, just to kind of wrap everything up, and then, you gave your input from the perspective of a parent, and I feel like the perspective of, someone in my position who's going to be watching or listening to this is just, it's all about perspective. So you may not know this, you probably don't know this, but I've gotten multiple messages, like dozens throughout the course of the last few years about how hard that I work and how dedicated and how disciplined I am. And I always tell people that if I can do it, you can do it. And the purpose for this whole episode was, I want people to know why I'm the way I am, why I'm wired the way I, just waking up crazy hours to get ahead of everything else, because that 13-year-old kid is still inside of me. Like, I got to do whatever it takes. If not, I'm screwed, And that mentality since then, going out shoveling it's still with me now, where like I got to get up and do something to.
Yeah, well, listen, it's supposed to snow Sunday.
I'm not shoveling, so you guys are going to be watching this probably a month or 2 from this. I'm not shoveling snow, if that's the case, but.
Well, yes, that's in your DNA to be responsible.
It is.
I know. I've seen it. I know it. I know it, to be giving, to be very soft, to be considerate, to be people that know that you're my son. I bump in. Oh, your son, Michael. What a great kid. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, he looks so much like you. And blah, blah, blah. And I say, yes, that's my son. And I'm like I said before, I'm extremely proud of you, because anything that you have. Nobody gave you anything. You earned it. You worked for it, and that's a good thing to know when you have a son, because it's important to take care of yourself. Because in the future, if you ever get married, you're able to take care of your family.
Of course. So with that being said, we're gonna wrap up this podcast episode.
Woo-hoo.
So now you guys know me literally in and out. There's no more holding back, and hopefully. One person can watch this episode and hopefully take something from it.
Yeah, listen, there is no, I can't do this. It's only a state of mind. You can do anything, and really. just takes time, a lot of hard work, but nothing's impossible. Really, it isn't. If you stay focused and concentrate on your goals, anything is possible. And, just stay focused and pray. Keep the strength.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We're going
you.
to keep the strength.
My little rat, I love you.
Until next time.